We'll get started. All right. Once again, good evening, all, and thank you for joining us this evening for ANC3C's February 2026 monthly public meeting. We will get started with the establishment of a quorum, 3C08,
I'm here.
3C07,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
yep, 3C06,
Here.
3C05,
Here.
3C04.
Here.
3C03 is myself, and I am here. 3C02
Here.
and 3C01, I do not see as present at this time, but we have established a quorum this evening, and we'll move on to the verification of notice. I will verify that notice was sent via our website and our email newsletter list and various listservs. All right. Moving on now to the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar. And this would include the approval of the items on the consent calendar if we approve the agenda. I have one change to the agenda this evening, and it is under item 7 or subject 7, commission business. And I'm going to suggest that we add after the first item, a second item, before the third item, the second item being the discussion and vote on a resolution to approve a grant of $3,733.33 to the Woodland-Normanstone Neighborhood Association for a one-time vine removal along Normanstone Drive and Fulton Street. Does anyone else have any objections to the addition of that item in that spot? Hearing and seeing none. Does anyone else have any items or changes or additions or subtractions to the rest of the agenda as was sent and noticed with the draft?
No, just to thank you for adding that.
All right, and then the two items on the consent calendar that would be approved with the approval of the agenda and the consent calendar are the approval of the December 2025 meeting minutes and the approval of the January 2026 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any objection to approving the items on the agenda and the items on the consent calendar? Hearing and seeing none, the consent calendar items are approved, as is the agenda moving forward. So we will start out with with announcements and single member district reports. So 3C08, do you have anything for us this evening, single member district report?
Yeah, I do have one thing, and this is the response to the recent storm, which we discussed in a couple of the committees, one being public safety and the other being transportation. As we found then, and I found particularly in the single member district I represent, this was an unusual storm. The ice and the precipitation kind of in a finite period created a lot of challenges for the city, and I get that. But we did find, and in this SMD and in others, DPW's response was really uneven, even across streets that have a similar classification, like local streets. Um, and there were streets that had multiple passes of a plow, and then there were whole areas that were really unplowed until the thaw began. Massachusetts Avenue Heights being, one place. There were other areas where DPW reflected that they had plowed or they had picked up trash, and they hadn't done it at all. It's a little like DPW grading its own test. So in the committees, we talked about this, and we did find that the response and support to MPD during the storm was good, and that's to be credited. But we hope next time that there is a little more follow-up in neighborhoods and that DPW doesn't just give up after the first couple or 3 days. Thanks.
Thank you. 3C07, do you have a single member district report?
No, we are having some straggler reports of not getting trash and recycling. So we're trying to deal with those. And there were some alleys that were still snowed in. So we're trying to deal with those for services. But I agree with Rick that it was quite a bad one and very spotty um, service. I guess the one thing I want to say is in the two committee hearings, we talked about trying to put together sort of an agenda forward-looking to pain points and areas for special attention for future snow emergencies like we face, so that we're ready for them better. So I hope to work with Rick and others, put together a short report or even just a bullet list of things that we want to pay special attention to going forward. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else from my SMD to report on.
Okay, thank you. 3C06,
Nothing to report, although I will second, or I guess third, the various comments about the snow and kind of the uneven response across my SMD and across the wider neighborhood. So hope we can handle the next one a little bit more effectively. Thanks.
okay, 3C05,
Nothing here. All the same comments as Rick and Gwen and Jay about the snow, which we've discussed.
3C04,
Nothing to report this month, thanks.
3C03 is just me. And I just want to remind everybody with your DPW issues that the record is open for their oversight hearing, I believe, for another week. So if you want to get your comments into the record for oversight, you can do that. So those are recognized in the committee report there. 3C02,
Nothing for me, but the same for the snow.
and 3C01.
All good.
Okay. Now on to committee reports. We're going to start with safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation.
Yeah, so we met in January. We talked about a number of things, including an update on Reno Road, snow response, and FY 27, right? Budget priorities. We are going to regroup. I'm going to send a Google Doc around to the commissioners and the committee members for a letter about the snow response for a discussion in our March meeting.
Okay. And we met last week, not in January.
Sorry, last week.
Transparency and public process.
No update.
Okay. Community engagement and grants.
Community engagement grants. Let's see. We did have a meeting in January. Let's see. We did have a meeting in January to consider grants. We'll be considering one of the grants later this meeting for the Woodland-Normanstone Community Neighborhood Association. And we also discussed the idea of another grant, which I think we're putting on hold and thinking about alternatives. We are planning another meeting later this month, or I guess it's next week, to consider another grant proposal that's come in, which I'll post shortly, for Capital Nature. So look for that in your inboxes or also on the ANC calendar.
Commissioner Kripke, I have one that I'm going to forward you to.
Right, you mentioned that. Yeah. I'll try to get that in line also for our next
Awesome.
meeting.
If you need any help, just let me know.
Okay.
All right. Super. Planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. Did we meet earlier this month? Yes.
Yes.
Discuss priorities. Didn't really get very far because it seems like everybody kind of wants to react to the draft budget that comes out. I know we will be meeting our first Monday of March regular time. I know that there is a placard out there for what was formerly St. Arnold's and formerly Ty Love, and now is placarded as another business. So we'll definitely have that on the agenda as well as, any things that come up between now and the beginning of March to discuss planning, zoning, housing, and economic development. But that's the one item I'm aware of. I don't know if others have any that they know of right now, but we'll look to hold that meeting then. Residential historic preservation.
Did not meet.
Okay. Environmental justice.
So the environmental justice, we had a meeting, I think it was December, or was I'm really getting my sequencing confused here. Our last meeting was on trees, but I can't remember if we reported on that yet. I don't think we did, or I think we maybe did. Anyway, there's meeting notes and some good ideas about neighborhood landscaping and trees, and I have some meeting notes which I'll try to post somewhere that were good. We had the DC arborist come in and talk, and various some neighborhood presentations. So we did meet. In the meantime, we didn't meet and don't plan to meet in February, but the community members of the committee have been discussing an idea, trying to get organized in front of Earth Day. And we have reached out to the Cleveland Park Library and have the idea to do a joint project with the library, which is an art contest, asking students or young people in the neighborhood to submit art, which would be the winner of the art contest would be selected for a bookmark that we will print and distribute at ANC events and also at the library. And the library is offering space and time and co-hosting for this activity. It's the library, so a bookmark is topical. And the idea is to do outreach to local schools and get everybody interested and excited in Earth Day. And then we'll probably have some kind of event the weekend before Earth Day at the library. So this is our project idea. And we're kind of excited about it. I think it'll be fun and hopefully engage the local schools and young people in an art contest. And they can do the art at the library also as an activity. The thing I want to come to the ANC and ask about is, can we print up these bookmarks for the winning art? And I've got a bid on printing up 1,000 bookmarks in color, which is about $300. Um, so uh, so I'd like to ask the ANC here or in the future if we can approve that expense to print out the bookmarks. Otherwise, I don't think there are going to be any other expenses for the project. Okay, I'll stop there.
Super. And I think we want to get the approval from the ANC and the treasurer's report about
Okay.
the $300 at this meeting just to get a vote of yes. I also want to suggest that we add a couple $100 to get it to a not to exceed value of like $500 or $600 because we can provide $100 of snacks. These reactions buttons, I apologize.
I like them.
Okay. So we can provide up to $100 of snacks, like, bags of healthy chips and stuff, for the event. And also, I think it would be good if we contributed to supplies,
Oh,
which we
okay.
can do as a direct expense,
Okay.
for the coloring and whatnot.
Excellent. I love it. So we'll come back to that at the treasury
The
report.
treasurer's report, because yeah, we have a ton of money in our direct expense budget, and
Right.
this is a worthy idea to utilize that. Okay, cool. Last committee report before we get to the task force. Public safety.
I'll go. I can go. Okay. MPD, we met last week as well. I got to write that time. MPD came and discussed some crime statistics for the neighborhood, which are lower than I think you said this time last year. We also talked about the snow response in that committee, so I will be sharing that document with that committee as well. We also talked about budget priority, and I am talking with some of the community members about doing some, who are on the committee, about doing some other more interactive public safety measures, like partnering with Woodley Park Main Streets to do their Narcan training and things of that nature. So there's more to come on that, and I will turn it to Rick if he has anything he'd like to, or Commissioner Nash if he has anything he'd like to add.
No, I think you summed it up well. Thank you.
Okay. And then lastly, which I realized I forgot to copy onto this agenda, we have our hybrid virtual in-person meeting task force. And we are scheduled to have our March meeting to be our first ever hybrid meeting. So have we secured
Yes.
location and equipment?
I am going to book the meeting room right after this meeting. There were some issues with the system online the other day when I tried, but I'm going to try again. And then I know Commissioner Prinzo.
Yeah, I have the equipment secured.
Perfect. Then we should be all set.
If anybody has a pickup truck that would like to help me pick up said equipment, no, I'm kidding.
So the location is Cleveland Park Library, unless something goes horribly wrong there. And the meeting is going to start at 6:30 p.m. to account for the library closing at 8. And that would be on Monday, March 16th. Yes. Monday, March 16th. Please wear your green because it's the day before St. Patrick's Day. Okay.
Commissioner Pagets, is it
It's
March
April.
or April? Yeah, April.
Did I mess it up? It's April?
Yeah.
Okay, I apologize. The March one will still be virtual, starting at 7. And then in April, we will meet.
April 20th.
That's a Monday at 6:30 at the library. So I apologize for not being clear. I know we went back and forth on this in our initial planning. So apparently I stuck with the first date. All right, so April in person. Cool. All right, moving on now to announcements from mayor, council, agency, and community organizations. So Owen, did you want to kick it off there with the mayor's office? Do you have anything for us this evening? Oh, you're on mute there.
There we go. I'm adding into the chat to you, if you could relay that. These are the dates and times. Oh, so sorry. Hi, everyone. My name is William Owen Cox. I'm the Ward 3 liaison for the Mayor's Office of Community Relations and Services. So in the chat, you'll find the dates and times for the upcoming budget engagement forums. There's one tomorrow. It's the Senior Budget Engagement Forum. That'll be accessible. It's a teletown hall. So to access that, starting at 11 a.m., you can call 1-844-881-1314 and press 0, and you'll be able to ask any question you have about the budget. We also have another citywide engagement forum coming up at Berry Farm Recreation Center Saturday, February 21st at 11:30 a.m. So Berry Farm Recreation Center is at 1230 Sumner Road Southeast. And then the last one will be the Budget Engagement Forum on Thursday, February 26th at Dock 5 in Union Market. So that's 1301 5th Street Northeast at 5:30 p.m. So if you can't make one, please show up at one of the other options. We'd like to hear from you and hear that everyone's engaged. So that is it for me. Thank you.
Super, thank you. Anyone have questions for Mayor's office? All right, hearing and seeing none. Move on to Councilmember Frumin's office and Trisha.
Hi, everyone. So a few updates today. First is about the sewage spill into the Potomac. So as many of you know, a major sewer pipe break caused sewage to enter the Potomac River on January 19th near Cabin John Woodland. This pipe is part of the Potomac Interceptor System, which carries sewage from parts of Virginia and Maryland to DC's Blue Plains treatment plant. DC Water has installed emergency systems to stop the spill, and most of the sewage flow has been successfully redirected and overflows have been stopped. Repairs are currently underway and expected to continue into mid-March, and then environmental cleanup and restoration will follow that. Residents and pets should avoid contact with the river water for now, but drinking water does remain safe because it comes from a different intake location, so it's not affected by this spill. So this morning, the council received a formal briefing from DC Water, and they're conducting oversight to understand what happened and how to prevent this in the future. So this includes reviewing infrastructure conditions and long-term maintenance plans. And if you're interested, the performance oversight hearing for DC Water is on March 2nd at 9:30 a.m. if you'd like to tune in on the council website or if you're interested in testifying for that. Next, I have something on snow response and trash and recycling collection. So recently, snow has caused significant disruptions to trash, recycling, and food waste collection. DPW has activated escalation teams that are working 7 days a week. They have dedicated teams focusing on missed collections, and they've added seasonal workers to increase capacity. But collection schedules may be shifted temporarily as households may be on a one-day slide schedule this week for the holiday. Residents should keep bins out until collection occurs, so don't bring your bins back in until your service is completed. And you can submit a 311 request for missed collections. If you've already submitted one and service hasn't happened, submit another request so it's captured in updated routing. Our office is also actively escalating Ward 3 cases, so if issues do persist, then feel free to contact us. And lastly, if you haven't already, you can sign up for Councilmember Frumin's newsletter at mattfruminward3.com.
Super. Thank you. All right. Anybody from any agencies here? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll move on to community organizations. Cassandra.
Good evening. I want to wish everyone a happy Mardi Gras. I'm sure you all enjoyed your day. So just a couple of announcements. Janelle already told you about the cocktail bar called And Club Soda that's coming to St. Arnold's, Thai Love, all those things. UPS has gotten all their permits. Now they're just in the process of moving all the furniture and equipment from Tenleytown. They should be opening in the spring. They're going to be between Target and Cold Stone Creamery. Amaj Hair Salon has a new awning, which I'm really excited about. It's very pretty. It's black and white striped. Yes, Market is getting a new awning sometime this month, I believe. I did meet with Art Tech House. They are on track to open, preferably, by the end of this calendar year, beginning of next year. There's an email address that you can contact them if you have more specific questions. And on next Tuesday at the library at 6:45 p.m., our next Tuesday talk is with Abby Greensfelder. She's going to be talking about the pink pill, sex, drugs, and who has control. It's a talk about women's health. It is free to attend, but we do ask that you register. And I will put I'll put the link in the chat, and also I'll put the email address. I'll send it to Janelle for, can I do that? Chat disabled.
You can send it to me.
All right.
For everyone.
Okay.
Arc Tech House is the tenant that's going into the Uptown.
Yes.
I mean, they're trying to get open as quickly as possible. So I don't know that we want to have everyone bombard them with all kinds of questions, but sure.
They're supposed to be putting together creating like an email newsletter so that if people are interested, they can sign up for that and get information. To my knowledge, it has not been created yet, but as soon as it is, I will spread the word for how you can sign up for that. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, Commissioner Prinzo.
Yeah. Sorry, Woodley Park Main Streets couldn't be here today, so they just asked me to pass on that they have secured their funding for what should have been Q4 of 2026. Sorry, 2025. That came late, per usual. But they are very excited. They're going to start kicking off some weekly markets on the weekends in Woodley Park, and they'll be on the lookout for a cherry blossom themed event. It was not branded as a market, so I'm intrigued. Coming in April.
Super thanks. Stella.
Good evening, everyone. It's so much fun to hear about the events at the library. It's such a community resource. I'm really growing to love it. I hope it's okay. I'm Stella with Capital Nature, and I'm also a resident of Quebec Street. And I just wanted to highlight the need that I see for the tree engagement series that I've proposed. And because I haven't formally yet submitted, I assume it's okay if I talk about it. I just want to make sure I don't.
I think we should wait for the grants committee meeting. I think that's the best forum.
I'll wait until after that meeting then. Thanks.
Oh, at that meeting, we can have the discussion at that meeting.
Right.
It gives us more space and a place rather than this meeting. We just like to approve things here.
I just want to say, I think there's a real need for tree engagement, and the summer of 2026 is not going to be any easier than the summer of 2025. So I think we should really get ourselves ready to have a sustainable landscape and healthy trees. And that's what I'm all about for this. Thanks.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Any other community organizations wish to make announcement at this time? All right, hearing and seeing none, we're going to move on to the community forum section of our agenda. And that is where members of the public are invited to ask questions and raise concerns about issues that are not otherwise on this evening's agenda. We ask that you please limit your time to about 2 minutes. David, your hand was up first, so go ahead.
Okay. Is audio coming through?
Yes.
Okay. I don't see a public protest meeting scheduled for February 25th on the proposed cannabis dealer anymore. Is that still on?
So Commissioner Littauer, you can go ahead and answer.
Yeah, hi, David. Great question. So thankfully, over the past couple of months, with the input of a lot of community members and the planning committee, we were able to draft and have signed a settlement agreement between the business operators and the ANC that sets forth a couple of key provisions that people had lobbied for. And since that settlement agreement has been signed, the protest hearing has been nullified. So the permit is approved, and had we not submitted a community settlement agreement, it was on track to be approved anyways without any community stipulations. So that's where it stands, and appreciate your question tonight.
Can you summarize what those settlement agreements are now that we have to live with a drug dealer in our neighborhood?
Yeah, of course. Well, all cannabis consumption has to be in private facilities separate from the rest of the commercial operation, which includes a coffee shop and cafe on the main second floor, but they will have separate compartments or areas of the facility where they will be distributing cannabis. There's no
outdoor
ability.
Smoking, yes or no?
We cannot have them enforce outdoor smoking bans. However, they have agreed to not use or activate the back alleyway. And I'd be happy to forward along the whole settlement agreement for your consideration.
I've been reaching out several times, not getting any answers. So this is substantial new information. Please do forward it to me.
Great. Will do. Thanks.
David, are you signed up to receive ANC3C's newsletter with the notice? That's the best way.
I thought so, but apparently not.
Okay, because we had this discussion at the past four meetings, and it was definitely included on the agenda of that. So that's, consistent way that we agendize our meetings. Um, Additionally, I just want to note that the board hasn't issued the formal order, which would include the finalized settlement agreement, because their ABCA's legal team did have some issues with a few of the things that can't be in settlement agreements because they're not enforceable and not in the rules and regs and allowed by them. So there's that. But we can't do everything that sometimes people want. It's the law. Um, and then I hear your concerns about the odor, but there is in the rules and regs odor mitigation rules. And if there is a nuisance, one, the owner has agreed to address that immediately. And two, there is the ability to report that and in violation of, that provision in the law. So that being said, I know that word protest is a little bit of a misnomer of what this process is, but it really is just formally entering a mediation between the applicant and any parties that are approved to have status. In this case, the ANC automatically has the party status, and I believe that Stanford University did apply for it, but was not granted that status at the roll call hearing part of this process. So sorry, it's complicated, but it's not my process. And hopefully that addresses many of your questions and concerns. Commissioner Miles, your hand is up. Is it on this matter?
Yeah, I was just going to add just 'cause the sidewalks and things weren't covered in the agreement because it's already not legal. So if you look up the district's laws for cannabis, technically you can't smoke in public, on sidewalks, in alleys. So that's already behavior that's not actually allowed.
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Connor.
Hi, everyone. I'm very pleased to report some good news with DPW. Some of you might have remembered back in November, I had announced that my Adopt a Block sign application had been approved and that we had done the cleaning. Turns out DPW took over that program and then they retroactively denied my application. So I've been going back and forth with them for months. I've gotten Matt Frumin's office, Phil Mendelson's office, the ANC involved. It's been a big hubbubaloo. I'm very pleased to announce, though, we reached a compromise agreement last week. The DPW will install the sign. The name will be Ukraine Focus, which is a 501c3 that I am a part of. It delivers ambulances to Ukraine. So very happy to do that. It's going to be in front of my house, which just coincidentally is in front of the Russian embassy. But happy to share one bit of good news with DPW with all the lackluster news with the snow stuff. So yeah, just want to share that. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. I mean, it did take just as long to do that as it's seemingly taking them to pick up everybody's trash.
Yeah, I want to thank Mr. O'Brien for really sticking with this. I realize it's been frustrating and you've had no end of, run around. I was beginning to think maybe that the folks at DPW that were holding this up have now moved on to the International Olympic Committee.
90 emails, but when you really want something, you gotta fight for it. So happy to report success.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone on the ANC for your support. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. Does anyone else have any items for the community forum this evening? You can use your virtual hand, come on camera, raise your real hand. All right, last call.
Can you unmute me?
Okay, speak more.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Moira Shea, and I live on the 2700 block of Woodley Place, and I registered to talk about the cannabis operation on Connecticut Avenue. I am totally blind, and I have a guide dog, and the dogs are at no cost to me, but they're valued at around $50,000. A cannabis roach on the sidewalk is highly toxic to dogs. So I worry about my dog Stacy with this place opening up. And I also wonder, they have a large terrace out front. What is going to happen to that terrace?
Commissioner Littauer.
Yeah, thanks so much for the question. I appreciate it, and especially the context regarding your guide dog. For the front terrace, fortunately, as a part of the settlement agreement, they agreed that they would not have any inhalant cannabis use on the front porch.
But they will have edible that can drop to the ground and be on the sidewalk.
That
not in the front.
For a dog to eat.
Not in the front, not on their front.
They can eat edibles on the front. It's not going to be something, they can't smoke anything, but they can eat edibles in the front.
That's a great point of clarification. I will follow up with the business owners and follow up with you as well once I receive an answer. Like Commissioner Paget shared earlier, we raised a lot of similar concerns in our initial protest and petition of this license. Many of them were dismissed by ABCA as not having standing. And so that includes, issues surrounding sanitation and public safety. Many of those were dismissed without any standing for us to kind of lift our voice.
I won't be able to walk to CVS. It's just, they're going to have cannabis on the sidewalk, and it's toxic to dogs.
If I recall correctly, the applicant said from the beginning that there would be no usage whatsoever of anything on that front sidewalk cafe.
So we have to wait until there's an accident to prove them wrong. I mean, public safety doesn't come first. Their profit margin comes in first.
I'll be glad to share an update with Corey Barnett, who's the owner of that business, and we'll make sure that this is a primary concern of his. But
and
thank you so much.
It's not my dog, it's all dogs. There's a lot of dogs. And most people don't know how toxic that can be to their dogs. And there's a lot of dogs in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for taking my question. But as far as the front patio, they're going to be doing cannabis in the front. They're not going to be smoking it, but they're going to be eating it. It's just going to go all over the place. And they're going to, just this is terrible.
Oh, what happened?
I think
people are going off the call. People are going off the call.
Okay. Okay, so Commissioner Littauer, follow up with Corey on that. I know that there are rules regarding the trash and proper litter control and whatnot involved with strict enforcement of that.
That's correct. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Anybody else for the community forum portion? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we will move along to commission business. All right. The first item on commission business is the discussion of and a vote on the response to Councilmember Frumin's letter, which is Exhibit 264 regarding zoning case number 25-09. This is the, sorry, why I pull up my draft here. This is the zoning case regarding the upzoning of Connecticut Avenue and Woodley Park that we've been discussing since 2007 at this point. So I will put a link to the proposed letter in the chat, and I will introduce this by summarizing it and then ask for a second. And then we will move into a discussion. This letter by ANC3C is the response to the January 29th letter from Councilmember Frumin regarding this zoning commission case. He commented on both 25-09 and 25-13. 2513 is regarding Wisconsin Avenue. And he urges the zoning commission to keep the record open for further analysis and public comment. ANC3C remains steadfast in our strong and unequivocal support for the immediate approval of case 25-09. As the representative body for Cleveland Park and Woodley Park, we must clarify that the public comment the council member suggests has been missing has in fact been the bedrock of this process for years. The public has already spoken extensively. This included widespread consensus in a recent formal survey of 3C that showed 72% support these zoning changes across our neighborhood. Iterative meetings. We've had numerous public sessions, webinars, drop-in sessions to discuss these amendments. Transparent debate. The community has already weighed in on every key matter mentioned by the council member, including height, massing, and the critical need for increased housing supply near transit. The second point we want to make is that delay is a form of inaction. The council member noted that the Office of Planning needed several months for further analysis. That's not entirely true. It was the Zoning Commission that just asked for more information to make their orders that they're going to issue more thorough. We caution the Zoning Commission that further delay only serves to prolong the economic stagnation that's plagued our commercial corridors for decades. We've already moved from the 2021 comprehensive plan to the 2023 development guidelines, and the time for analysis must now give way to implementation. Our third point is that historic preservation and design review are already addressed. The council members highlights concerns regarding design review and historical compatibility. We remind the Zoning Commission that the Historic Preservation Review Board already unanimously approved the Connecticut Avenue Development Guidelines in September of 2023. As ANC3C has previously stated, the HPRB is the proper and sufficient time and place for evaluating design capability, and the Zoning Commission need not further add layers of bureaucracy that would only serve as a barrier to much needed housing. Our fourth point is the commitment to affordability and infrastructure. Our support of case 25-09 is specifically rooted in the district's commitment to equitable development and inclusionary zoning plus. Furthermore, we accept the OP's infrastructure assessment, which concludes that growth is a long-term projection and that further assessments can and should be handled on a project-by-project basis. In conclusion, we're urging the Zoning Commission to prioritize the demonstrated will of the local community expressed through years of public discourse and formal ANC resolutions over the request for open-ended delays. The community-vetted policy before the Zoning Commission is a necessary tool to unlock our corridor's potential for housing and economic revitalization. So with that, I move this letter.
Second.
All right, given a sufficient second, we will move to discussion of commissioners and then to public discussion. However, I do have one matter I wanted to address kind of administratively. So Commissioner Nash, Commissioner Prinzo, did you have your hand up before you want me to start here?
No, you can go ahead.
Commissioner Nash, into the record of this case, your attorney entered an exhibit found at Exhibit 215 regarding your pending lawsuits that have influence on this case. So with that in mind, and in our code of conduct for 3C, we do have a conflict of interest clause Do you feel that you're in conflict of interest in discussing and voting on matters regarding the zoning commission case that your attorney has entered into the record that specifically claims that, or specifically states that you are a plaintiff in?
No, I certainly do not. And, I am a named plaintiff among, multiple plaintiffs relating not to this particular zoning commission case, but rather to a prior case. So there's no conflict of interest.
Okay, so I'm going to read this further because there is DC official code that is cited here. So, as chair, I have a duty to ensure that our commission's deliberations are conducted with the highest ethical standards and that our official reports to the zoning commission are free from any procedural taint. It is a matter of the public record that Commissioner Rick Nash is currently a plaintiff in active litigation against the District of Columbia. His attorney, Renee Bowser, submitted testimony to the zoning commission on November 30th, 2025, stating, and I quote, "I represent plaintiff Rick Nash in DC Superior Court case 2021 CA 001651B and DC Court of Appeals case 24-CV-0728, implicating rights and intimate harms directly related to zoning case number 25-09. The submission further details that the consequences of these zoning changes will, and I quote, materially affect the value and enjoyment of Commissioner Nash's property, and that the amendments present, quote, heightened risks of injuries to his concrete personal and property interests. Under DC Official Code, subsection 1-1162.23, a public official is prohibited from participating in any matter that has a, quote, direct and predictable effect on their personal or financial interests. By his own attorney's admission, Commissioner Nash's lawsuit is directly related to the very zoning cases currently before this commission. To protect the great weight of ANC3C's official recommendations and to avoid the appearance of using this public office to bolster private litigation, I'm asking Commissioner Nash to consider voluntarily recusing himself from all future discussion and votes related to zoning case number 25-09 and any other matters directly implicated by his ongoing lawsuits. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I'm sure I'm not. Ms. Bowser's filing, first of all, was not done with my consent, but it does not refer to this case. It refers to a prior action going back to the comprehensive plan amendments. So I don't feel a conflict of interest, but the lawsuit is a matter of public record.
Okay. And strange that she didn't consult you before citing you specifically prior to entering into the. Okay, so you're not going to recuse yourself. So I'm going to propose, and because this is my letter here, I'm going to propose that we include the language that I just read off into this letter to give a level of awareness to the zoning commission of this potential conflict of interest and have them judge it on its own merits, based on what's been entered into the record and the facts of the matters, and they can judge if you're in conflict of interest or not, and note that you refuse to recuse yourself from the discussion and the vote. So I'm proposing that as a friendly amendment, and since I'm the author of this, I'm going to go ahead and accept it and then open this up to the discussion of the commissioners at this time. So, commissioners. Commissioner Miles.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I'll leave the legal analysis to others. But, to me, this is not how you build confidence in a public process. And I think it contributes to why people feel really disempowered. Participation in a public process implies acceptance of the outcome. We have the consent of the governed at the foundation of our government. So it's really disappointing to see a commissioner who participated in a public process but disagrees with the outcome use their private wealth to attempt to prevent others from enjoying opportunities they've already availed themselves of. That's my comment on this. Whether it's conflict of interest or not, I don't know, but I don't think it's a good look. And it's really a disappointing thing to see people try to warp the process like this when they have a privileged seat on the ANC commission to make their views heard. And maybe you don't get your way with those views, but I don't think when the commission doesn't vote your way, that means you resort to joining a lawsuit to try to circumvent the process.
Could I respond to that?
Sure.
Commissioner Paggets? First of all, this lawsuit was filed before I became a member of the ANC. So, you know, the facts and the timeline that you suggest don't hold water. And as I mentioned, it doesn't relate to this particular case, but rather to a prior matter that the Zoning Commission handled several years ago. And then Commissioner Miles, while we're on the subject of conflict of interest, are you still a director of Cleveland Park Smart Growth?
No, I submitted a resignation, whether or not they've updated their website.
Okay,
Commissioner Paggett,
yes. But hold on, let me just
Commissioner
respond.
Paggett, Commissioner Paggett. We have in our rule, and I really don't mean to cut you off, Commissioner Myers. We do have in our rules that unless it is something at the discretion of the chair, that we will not disparage each other in these meetings. I will state that we had a similar issue last term with Cleveland Park Historical Society not updating their website in time as well. So before we bring that up, I would just like to be mindful that that was an incident that occurred last term as well.
Okay.
But if I can respond specifically to the one question, my question for Commissioner Nash would be, one, have you asked to remove yourself from the lawsuit then, now that this has come up? And two, if it doesn't relate to the case, then why did that lawyer come to the Zoning Commission hearing in December and ask if the entire hearing not happen? Again, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems to suggest it relates to that case.
First of all, to my recollection, the lawyer did not ask that the hearing not happen. Okay. But secondly, as I said, the lawsuit relates to a completely different case. And, you know, it was not, Ms. Bowser was not speaking, you know, on my behalf. She was not submitting testimony for me. Okay. I respectfully disagree with the pleading that was filed. And in fact, I'm prepared to state on the record, I'm going to ask her to withdraw it because it does pertain to another lawsuit and not to this matter.
Yes, we're not going to litigate this here, but Commissioner Nash, I just am going off of the facts of what was entered into the record on behalf of your attorney that directly said, I represent plaintiff Rick Nash, and didn't name any of the other plaintiffs. So I'm not looking up these lawsuits and realizing that there's other plaintiffs. And in that same first sentence where she's representing you, she also says implicating rights and imminent harms directly related to the zoning case. So I apologize if those things aren't wrong, but that is what we have into this record that has now been there for over 2 months we have no other, information other than what you're telling us now. So I apologize if, she didn't contact you before she put it there, but it was there. And now we're dealing with what is in the public realm.
Yeah, as I said, if I could just respond, and I appreciate your comment. It pertains to a completely different matter. And, I had seen the filing and had not made much of it. But given that this has come up as, what appears to be an issue, but shouldn't be, I'm going to ask Ms. Bowser to withdraw that filing, at least as it pertains to any mention of me. And, as I say, it pertains to a different matter. So, hopefully she can do that, but
Okay.
it stayed on the record. That would be my intention.
Okay. Commissioner Prinzo?
Yeah. I mean, I understand it was 2021. I'm assuming based on the 21 part. I mean, just as a comment, I mean, we as ANCs do take a fiduciary responsibility to the city. So I don't know how that would pertain with actively suing the city that you have a fiduciary responsibility to. But I don't think that's I just wanted to put that out there. I would like to thank Commissioner Pagets for writing the letter. I think I understand the frustration. I also think it's very disappointing. I could read, as I said many times, I could read the OP plans forward, backwards, sideways, inside out. I think we've seen this more times. I think I also said that I've read the Bible in the previous hearing. So I think to say that there was no public engagement is just, quite frankly, disingenuous. We've been talking about this since at least I've been on the ANC, and that's 3+ years. And I know you've been talking about it before I was on the ANC because I was listening into these calls. So I just should like to point that out. I mean, I think it's definitely not fair. And I actually think it discredits this ANC immensely to say that there was no public comment done, because that's just quite honestly not true.
Commissioner Beard.
All right, thank you. I have a clarifying question. I just would like to know, since Commissioner Pagets read information about the lawsuit, it did mention zoning case 2509. And Commissioner Nash, you have said that this is relating to a different case. Can you clarify what that different case is and why it is different from 2509 when the lawsuit cites 2509?
I can't speak for Ms. Bowser, and again, she represents a number of plaintiffs across the city. Okay, I being one. There were a number of others from Ward 3 and across the city, but this related to actions of the Zoning Commission, prior to 2021. This matter, as we know, this case was not filed or initiated until well after that. So, it doesn't pertain, directly to this matter, in my opinion. And, for that matter, and to avoid confusion, I think she should withdraw the filing.
Can I follow up on that?
Sure.
Just to ask, I think you mentioned earlier, Commissioner Nash, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you mentioned earlier that this was about an amendment to zoning case 2509.
No. This goes back. This goes back to the original framework. Prior to 2021. It doesn't have to do with this case. I forget when this case was initiated. I think it was initiated last year, wasn't it? So.
The zoning commission case. So the few things happened here that are probably not very intuitive because they're not. There was the comprehensive plan amendments and the future land use plan updates that came along with that happened in 2021. That is what the lawsuit was filed. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Nash. That's correct. That is what the subject of the lawsuit is. But the zoning commission case that we're discussing is a direct result of that comp plan and that the future land use map things, because now that's the next step in the process of implementing the comprehensive plan changes and future land use map changes. So it's kind of like related, but it's not like naming the zoning commission case directly. Although the attorney does say that in the first sentence of the letter, the two are tied together. So I appreciate Commissioner Nash's explanation. However, we have to deal tonight with what's in the record currently.
Yeah, also, this matter, as you know, is not a contested proceeding, so there are no parties, there are no litigants. So it's apples and oranges, but as I said, my own view is this, I frankly don't. I've read the submission and don't agree with every element of it. I think it creates confusion. I'll ask her to withdraw it, at least as far as any mention of me. Now, I would like, once we get to the substance of the letter, to address that, but I want to hear other commissioners speak in favor first.
Okay, any other commissioners wish to speak at this time? All right, go ahead, Commissioner Nash.
Sure. I mean, I actually want to thank Councilmember Frumin for writing this letter to the Zoning Commission, but I don't read the letter as suggesting that the public has heretofore not had an opportunity to be heard. Rather, Commissioner Frumin is referring to the very substantial requests that the Zoning Commission has made of the Office of Planning, which the Office of Planning is going to put on the record at some future date. And all the council member is asking for is that the public have a right of engagement on the full record on which the zoning commission is going to act. So while I commend Councilmember Frumin, in a sense, what he's doing ought not to be remarkable. He's standing up for the right of public engagement. Now, the notion that public engagement is okay up to a point, but not after that is not how our democratic system works. The public should have an opportunity to comment on the record when there's new information being considered by the zoning commission. And Councilmember Frumin discusses the requests, not that the public is asking for, but that the zoning commission is asked for, requiring extensive response by OP. And these include the application of IZ Plus to proposed zones, the analysis of the set aside sliding scale. And remember, the amount of density talked about in Cleveland Park actually exceeds the IZ Plus scale. So the commission seems to be asking quite rightly for OP to address an adjustment so that we would capture IZ Plus and ensure that the commission's goal, this ANC commission's goal of more affordable housing, can come to fruition in Cleveland Park and presumably in Woodley Park. If OP gets to submit new information without any possibility of analysis and comment from the public, that's not public engagement. It's unfortunately the definition of a closed, undemocratic system. Now, it's kind of interesting that the commission argues that the record is closed and should remain closed when I notice that there was a submission by one of the commissioners that was added to the record on February 2nd. And, it's a little bit like the ANC saying to the public, a rule for thee, but not for me. Now on the point of delay, that's kind of a non-issue. It's a red herring. If there's any delay, the Office of Planning is responsible for a delay. I do remember that zoning board member Wright asked OP to put more information on the record and asked that it be done by the end of January. Well, clearly OP hasn't met that deadline, and I'm not quite sure when they will. But to the extent that there's any delay in the case, it's because the zoning commission has made various requests of OP, and OP is taking its time in responding. And the public shouldn't be limited, therefore, to a partial record when the record is still very much open and OP is going to add to it. And the zoning commission, by law, is supposed to make its decision on the entire record. So clearly the public should have a right to comment on that record as well. Anyway, thank you for your time.
All right, Commissioner Littauer, then Prinzo, then Bose.
Thank you, Chairperson Baggett. Listening to this conversation on the potential upzoning of the commercial overlay district in Woodley Park reminds me of when this topic was first introduced, which was the DC Zoning Act of 1920. It allowed for row houses to be built along Woodley Place and along 27th Street, Cathedral Avenue, and it deliberately zoned a section of Connecticut Avenue, the 2600 block, to be used for commercial purposes. At the time, in 1920, residents were quite upset and decided to sue and contest the decision of the DC Office of Zoning, which at the time really was just the three commissioners of the district. In 1923, their appeals of that decision climbed all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, who then dismissed their zoning contention as moot. Now, that was about 2606 Connecticut Avenue. That's the building that now contains Via Roma and Dunsack tie, but that historic facade was then named directly as a contributing structure of the historic district in 1990 when it was founded. The idea that we have not had ample time to discuss the effects of upzoning and building new commercial opportunities in Woodley Park, in my opinion, is completely untrue. We have been having these negotiations for over 106 years at this point, and unfortunately, a part of that history is people breaking from public process and filing lawsuits and appeals to contest decisions that they disagree with. I would hope that we do not repeat those parts of our history and instead embrace the best parts of history, like when we allowed new zones to go into place so that we can have the neighborhoods and restaurants and vibrant commercial corridors that we all know and love today. So I hope that we can move forward with this amended response to Councilmember Frumin, as I do not see how requesting more input and public comment after 106 years of discussion over how to zone the commercial overlay district in Woodley Park, I do not see how we have not had a fair turn. But thank you.
Commissioner Prinzo.
Yeah, I agree with what Commissioner Littauer just said. I just want to, I hear what you're saying, Commissioner Nash, about everybody having a say and whatnot, and obviously that is the democratic process. But part of the democratic process too, at least my interpretation of the democratic process, is that at a certain time, the record has to close and the decision makers have to make a decision. The record closed in December, and I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, the council member, sure, there was a commissioner on the ANC that submitted a letter to the record that was in response to the council member's letter. The council member waited, in my opinion, I think it was like a month after the record had closed to ask for it to be reopened. And I mean, like, it's built into our democratic process. Like, we have an election, there's a new person, the previous term is closed, it's new. So the book closed. And at some point, the book has to close on this. And as Commissioner Littauer has stated, it seems as though we've been litigating Connecticut Avenue for 106 years. So I hear what you're saying, and I appreciate it, because I am one for more community engagement as it is. But there also comes a time where you've heard from everybody that you're going to hear from. There's not going to be a new opinion. It's going to be the same people. They're going to say the same thing. And that's usually why things have a deadline, because like I said, the book has to close. The decision makers have to make a decision. And I think it's time. I mean, we're getting ready to start the next comp plan, and this is still dealing with the previous comp plan. So, it's time to make a decision and move on and be done with this so we can focus on the next comp plan. That's it.
Commissioner.
Sorry.
Great. Well, thank you, Commissioner Littauer, for the history lesson. That was great. I did not know that this has been going on for as long as it has. I mean, I was going to come on here and just comment that this particular case, I think, has been in the works since 2017. So 9 years. I was not aware of the 106, but I think it does help illustrate the point. I mean, it feels to me like everything that needs to be said about this zoning case has been said, and everyone who is going to weigh in has weighed in at this point. I mean, it really begs the question, what purpose reopening the record would even serve at this point. I mean, if we're just, asking the record to be reopened so that people can send more emails and there's not a specific purpose to it, I mean, it feels disrespectful of the community's time. It feels disrespectful of the years and years of advocacy, apparently over 100 years of debate that have already gone into this. To just echo what others have said, I mean, there does need to be a point where we say we have heard from everybody and we're going to make a decision. I don't see what reopening the record accomplishes. So I would strongly support this letter to Councilmember Frumin and to the Zoning Commission. Thanks.
Commissioner Beard.
Commissioner Littauer, would you like to respond to something before I start a new point?
Thanks, Commissioner Beard. The only thing I'm going to add is that I am thankful that I live in a building that is a part of the historic district. It's a contributing structure built in 1920. Unfortunately, under the current zoning code in Woodley Park, the building I'm in is illegal to build. I would like our historic buildings to be replicable, and I would like for the building that myself and my neighbors to enjoy also to be able to be built along the commercial overlay district. So that's all. Back to you, Commissioner Beard. Thanks.
Thank you. I would like to respond to this letter first by saying I really agree with what Commissioner Littauer and Commissioner Prinzo have said already, and especially Commissioner Bose, what you just said. And I think what really matters here and what really raises the stakes for me is our constituents' faith in the process of what we're doing. Because that's why I see myself being here. I see myself being a commissioner because I really genuinely believe in community engagement and in the community that we can help build as ANC members. And so my number one priority is to make sure that people's voices are heard and that they feel like they can contribute to the process. So I would like to say that it's our responsibility as elected officials to maintain people's faith in the system. And many, many, many people have engaged in this process in good faith. They have taken the time, they have come to meetings, they have come to hearings, they've filled out forms, they've given this information to us. They've engaged in the process in good faith. And they engaged in that process when the public record was open. So, what does it say about us as a government if we decide, well, those people, they need to do it again. They need to spend more of their time fighting for what they need to survive. Okay? What does it say about us if we allow that to happen? And what I have seen, on the other hand, is that some people engage in the process in bad faith. They decide that what they hear that comes out of the process is not something that they agree with. They don't like it. So they will go outside of the process to try to sway things towards what they would like them to be. That's acting in bad faith. And it also means that the people who do that believe that they can use power through whether they have power through resources, through length of time in the community, through time on their hands. They have resources available to engage outside of the process in bad faith. And that is extremely discouraging to people who engage in the process in good faith and who don't have those kinds of resources and that kind of power. So, what is a democratic process? It's where everyone gets an equal voice in the process. And when we reopen the process, we are not allowing for equal voices in the process. So, I would agree with what Commissioner Peggotts has written in the letter that we are discussing right now. I would ask that Councilmember Frumin withdraw his statement in asking for the record to be reopened. And I also just want to say that people my age, we we really want to see a better future. We're involved in that future. We are going to live in that future. And we would like to see the process being engaged in good faith. We're tired of people who get to live in nice neighborhoods and nice homes who then would like to pull up the drawbridge behind them. We want more inclusion. We want people to live in this neighborhood, and we want people of all ages and socioeconomic statuses to have the opportunity to live here. That's ultimately what we're doing. That's ultimately why we're here. That's ultimately why we are ANC members. So that is my motivation. And I'm not sure what the motivation of someone would be who wants to reopen the record that's already closed. So thank you.
Commissioner Beard, Commissioner Miles.
I would like to agree with everything Commissioner Beard said. I mean, it's the reason I'm on the ANC. I feel like we've seen a future that's going in a direction that I don't like, that I don't want to live with. And I think it's our job to be involved and try to build a better future for everyone. And I also think, in that vein, so I'll briefly mention, I'm the person who's been mentioned who sent a letter. I was as surprised as anyone that they actually put it in the record because I just emailed it to the zoning commission email address. So I don't know if they accept letters after it's closed. I didn't ask them to add it to the record. I just sent it in. I was as surprised as anyone that they actually posted it online. I think the other thing that's really important, though, is when you have a debate, it's not just making sure we don't change the rules, but understanding that facts matter. And I think there's something that we haven't discussed that's really important, which is that the record always closes before the final hearings. So in this case, right, we have a hearing in early December and the public record was closed. There already was a follow-up meeting that was scheduled for January 29th. That was a public meeting. The record was closed. On January 14th, there's a memorandum that you can find online where OP asked for more time and they wanted, instead of submitting information January 19th, they asked to submit it on March 2nd for consideration at the March 12th meeting. So there's this idea in Councilmember Frumin's letter that something really changed. I mean, it would be great if Office of Planning did things on time. I don't know why they need more time, but there always was a gap in the record being closed and the next hearing. So the original gap was from the December hearing to a January 29th hearing, and now it's about 6 weeks later. So it's really important, though, to understand the fact that it's not like we're getting some extra meeting in here. There is no extra public meeting, and we're taking away the opportunity for people to comment. There's more time, but also nothing is happening, right? OP is going to submit information on March 2nd. 10 days later, there was a meeting. OP was going to submit information on January 19th. 10 days later, there's a meeting. So from that perspective, there's no change in this process. There's a delay, but the record was always closed before this meeting. And I think it's really important to make sure that we have our facts straight when we talk about these issues.
Thank you, Commissioner Miles. And to further on some technical things here is like, yes, the record always closes, but the zoning commission at the public hearing will ask for more information to inform their final order, which is what they discuss in their deliberations before issuing and voting on the final order. So what they asked of OP was for further information and clarification. Like one of the things they asked for on the Connecticut Avenue side was the height of every single building on Connecticut Avenue. And I can tell you from a perspective of working in the built environment that if you have to go out and survey the height of every single building on the whatever mile stretch of the avenue, that information isn't living in a database somewhere already, and they're just pulling, give me the heights of all these buildings. Like, they might have to go out there and do some actual measuring to get that information so that it can be submitted into the record that then informs what the zoning commission is going to put in that final order. So unless something were to change substantially in what OP was recommending the final order to say, that would be the only reason for the zoning commission to then say, okay, well, let's, get more public comment on this. But less that substantial change to that, and that's up to the zoning commission's discretion to make that determination at this next hearing once they see that information, have time to process it, and then it's baked into the process already. But that's a decision for them to make, not for, in my opinion, and clearly, others maybe, for the zoning commission to make, not for a council member to weigh in on a particular zoning commission case, which has historically not been the precedent in these matters. So that's my point of clarification there. Commissioner Kripke, do you have anything you'd like to add to this conversation? Not to put you on the spot, but you're the only one that hasn't spoken yet, and want to give you a chance before I go back to Commissioner Nash.
Yeah, no, I generally support the sentiment behind the letter. I don't think opening the record for this discrete amount of time is a huge deal, but I'm worried about endless process, which ends up killing change. And we need, in a democracy, to have processes that are, on the one hand, consultative and take input from everybody, but also deliver outcomes and make the change that we need to see. And I worry that we're revisiting the sort of pattern of things being consulted forever and to death. And that is, I don't know that Councilmember Frumin intends that or whatever, but I feel like that's the gestalt of reopening records and asking for more clarification until, endlessly. So I would like to see delivery of outcomes, and so that we can make change that we want. And so I support I'm going to support this letter, and I'm frustrated by any delay.
Okay. Commissioner Nash.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to address a couple of points that were made. First of all, and let's return to the facts in Councilmember Frumin's letter. He says explicitly that he's not weighing in. He's not writing to comment on the issues directly. And indeed, Councilmember Frumin is on the record as favoring more density on Connecticut Avenue. But these aren't mere clarifications. I mean, Councilmember Frumin refers to requests by the commission of the Office of Planning that he calls significant and extensive and impactful. And normally when a record is closed and a case is submitted, it's when all the facts are presented and the evidence is submitted. Here, the zoning commission is the one that's effectively reopening the record by asking for extensive and significant and impactful information submissions by the Office of Planning. Our system isn't, and here I agree completely with the sentiments expressed by Commissioner Beard. We want a process that the public trusts in and where people have the right to be heard. And it's not such a process when the public is foreclosed from further comment on significant and impactful submissions. It's the commission that's effectively reopened the record. And all Councilmember Frumin is asking for is that the public have the right to be able to comment on these additional significant and impactful submissions that the zoning commission has asked OP to submit.
Okay, any other commissioners wish to comment at this time? Because I'd like to open it up to the public. If anybody in the public has anything they'd like to add to this conversation, please raise your virtual hand or go ahead and turn your video on and raise your real hand. And we can call on you in an orderly fashion. And the virtual hand is there at the bottom and the reactions button or reactions buttons. Anyone? Okay. Hearing and seeing none. Oh, Commissioner Prinzo?
If we're moving to a vote, can I call for a roll call?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Hearing and seeing no comments from the public. Any other commissioners before we take a vote on this letter as amended by the friendly amendment I've made and accepted, which I added to the draft that I linked in the chat? Okay, hearing and seeing none. The roll call has been ordered. So 3C01, yay or nay?
Yay.
3C02, yay or nay?
Yes.
3C03, yes. 3C04,
Yes.
3C05,
Yes.
3C06,
Yes.
3C07,
Yes.
3C08.
Respectfully, no.
Okay, the vote will be recorded as the roll was called, being approved 7-1 to 0. All right, thank you. And hopefully this is the last time we talk about that zoning case. All right. So moving on to our next item, which is a discussion and vote on resolution to approve a grant of $3,733.33 to the Woodland-Normanstone Neighborhood Association for a one-time vine removal along Normanstone Drive and Fulton Street. Commissioner Kripke, would you like to introduce this? We'll ask for a second and then discuss, and you can just, I believe, just cover the therefores after you do like brief summary, but I think your therefores are pretty good.
Okay, thanks. Well, I would like to introduce this resolution to approve a grant that has been submitted by the Woodland-Normanstone Neighborhood Association. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. So just a very brief introduction. The ANC has partnered with the Woodland-Normanstone Neighborhood Association in the past to support maintenance and care for the public parklands and thoroughfares in that neighborhood. And they are good partners. They contribute a lot of their own resources into the upkeep, maintenance, and improvement. And so this has been a good partnership for the ANC. They've come to us with a new grant idea in support removing invasive vines, which are harming the trees in the neighborhood along the, I think it's mostly National Park Service land, also some DC land. So basically improve the health of the forest and remove vines. They have a contractor lined up to do it. And they're also talking to some activists who are interested in making sure that it's sensitively done for invasive species, but not for local species. So I really appreciate their good faith and work here. The grant was to do this one-time thing and then take it over as volunteer work afterwards. So should I read the resolved clauses now, or should we have a discussion first?
You can read the resolve the resolve clauses now, and then
Okay. So what the grant does is what the resolution does is support the grant proposal, which is in public domain. We posted it on the website. The ANC approves a grant in the amount of $3,733.33 to the association as a one-time vine removal along Normanstone Drive and Fulton Street, as described in its grant application. Further resolved that WNNA shall comply with ANC grant guidelines and OANC requirements with respect to the expenditure of funds, maintenance of receipts, submission of documentation, and closeout materials. Further resolved that the chair, treasurer, and commissioner for the SMD, which is me, are authorized to represent the commission on this matter. So that's the resolution.
All right. So discussion among commissioners on this. Commissioner Nash.
I enthusiastically support this grant, and I want to commend the grantee WNNA for its vision and project, and I want to thank Commissioner Kripke for facilitating this and bringing it forward.
Super, thank you. And I totally agree with all the things you said, and also the level of detail and professional presentation that this group always brings to us with their applications and their, meaningful planning behind their projects is also to be commended. I think it's really great. Not that that's required of everyone to get a grant from us, but appreciate it.
We set a high bar.
They do. Because I see Amy here and she's a rock star at it. All right. Any other commissioners wish to comment on this? And then we'll open it up to the public. All right. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this? Stella.
I just want to say I'm so heartened that this grant is being considered and hopefully moving forward. We need this throughout our neighborhoods. So it's wonderful to see that this is hopefully going to be supported and going to be happening.
Great, thank you. All right, anyone else? All right, so I think we can then turn to a vote on this. All those in favor of approving and supporting this resolution to approve the grant of $3,733.33 to the Woodland-Normanstone Neighborhood Association, please raise your hand or say aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That passes 8-0. And we look forward to this project. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All righty. Now we will move on to Treasurer's Report.
Exciting. So this is the most exciting part of the agenda. The Treasurer's Report this month, very little activity. We did clear the check for the party PTO grant, which was in, I think, about $2,700 or $2,400. We paid a bank fee, and that's really it for the Treasurer's Report. So nothing new. Last meeting, we approved our QFR, and that's been posted. So we should be everything without, I don't expect any problems. We should get our allocation from the city as a result when you send the QFR. So that's really it. The only other issue I think I wanted to bring up was to see if we could approve some direct expenditures in support of this project with the library. The printing of the bookmarks themselves would be about 300, and as Commissioner Pagets has indicated, that there could be some extraneous expenses. I think printing ballots and providing materials for submissions, print ballots, which is blanks for submissions. That's what I mean. And maybe some refreshments for an award ceremony around Earth Day would be nice. So if we could agree to a budget of no more than $500 for the printing and other activities, that would be great. And Commissioner Pagets, tell me how I should proceed on this.
So I think we should do
Yeah, higher.
an approval of a not to exceed $600 budget for the whole event, if you will, via our ANC direct expenditure budget. So we approve that, and then next time we'll approve the actual receipts on our QFR report and acknowledge that whatever the total was is that total.
Okay.
So if you only spend $468.33, 33 cents being something I've said way too much today, that's what it is, and that's acknowledged in our records. But I think let's make the motion to vote on approving the not to exceed $600 of direct expenditure budget for this Earth Day activity and event. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving that not to exceed $600 for this out of our direct expenditures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're good to go. That will be recorded in the minutes. Thank you. And that's ONC it's required. Okay.
Thank you very much, all of you, for supporting this.
Can I motion to adjourn?
Well, is that it from the treasurer's report?
Oh,
I don't think there's anything else unless there's questions or concerns.
No? Any questions, concerns? All right. Commissioner Prinzo.
Can I motion to adjourn?
All right. Seconded.
Second.
And we'll see you virtually in March.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.